The city below was alive with sound and light, but on the rooftop it was quiet. Aaron liked that kind of silence. He had spent the whole day inside the council chambers, surrounded by voices, questions, and debates. His role as a human cultural advisor was not an easy one. Everyone wanted to know what humans thought, how humans lived, and what they valued. Sometimes it felt like carrying the whole image of Earth on his shoulders. That evening, he escaped to the rooftop of the tall residence tower. The night air was cool, and the stars above looked brighter from this height. In the center of the rooftop, there was a pool filled with clear blue water, lit softly from below. The surface reflected both the sky and the lights of the city stretching far into the distance. For Aaron, the rooftop pool was a reminder of home. It reminded him of lakes where he once swam as a child, the calm feeling of water around him, and the way the world seemed lighter when floating in it. He thought he was alone until he noticed someone at the far side of the pool. A figure stood near the edge, her form outlined by the glowing water. As he moved closer, he saw that it was Myra, one of the alien diplomats. She was tall and graceful, her skin carrying a faint shimmer that caught the starlight. Her people were known for their elegance and formality, and Aaron had always seen her in serious meetings. But here, away from the council, she looked different, less guarded, almost thoughtful. Aaron hesitated for a moment. He had come here for peace, and perhaps she had too. But politeness guided him forward. He gave a small smile and said, "I didn't expect to see anyone else up here." Myra turned her head slightly, her bright eyes meeting his. "I could say the same," she replied in a calm, measured voice. "I came here to be away from the noise below." Her words made Aaron feel they had the same reason for being here. He nodded and sat on the edge of the pool, dipping his hand into the cool water. "It's beautiful, isn't it? Reminds me of home. On Earth, people swim in places like this for fun. It helps us relax." Myra tilted her head, curious. "For fun?" she asked. "My people see water as something sacred. We use it in ceremonies and for survival. But not for play." Aaron chuckled softly. "Yes, for play. Children splash each other, friends race across the water, families gather near lakes and seas. It's not only survival for us, it's also joy. Maybe that is something strange to you, but for humans, simple things often hold happiness." Myra was quiet for a long moment. She gazed at the water, her reflection shimmering with the lights. "Strange," she whispered, "but interesting. You humans seem to give meaning to things we never consider in such a way." The conversation could have ended there, but instead it grew. They spoke of stars, of cities, and of duties that weighed heavily on them both. Aaron told her about Earth's oceans, so wide that ships could sail for weeks without seeing land. Myra listened carefully, her expression softening as she imagined it. Then she spoke of her own world, where water was rare and carefully guarded, each drop treated with respect. Slowly, the silence of the rooftop became less empty. It felt instead like a space shared between two souls from different worlds, bound by curiosity. For Aaron, it was surprising how easy it was to talk to her. He had always seen Myra as distant, a figure of grace who seemed above the everyday struggles. But here she was, asking questions, listening with real interest, and showing a side he had never seen. For Myra, it was the first time she saw a human not as a representative of Earth, but simply as a person. Aaron's voice carried warmth. His eyes carried stories. His way of speaking about small joys, the rain, the sea, the laughter of children, was unlike the way her people thought. Something about it pulled her attention, like a soft thread she could not ignore. The city lights glowed far below, and the water of the rooftop pool reflected the two of them sitting across its edge. They were strangers from different worlds, yet in that moment, the distance between them began to shrink. Neither of them said it aloud, but both knew this meeting would not be their last. The following evening, Aaron told himself he would stay in his quarters. He had work to do, notes to prepare for the next council session, and messages from Earth waiting for replies. Yet, when the sun fell and the city lights began to shine, his thoughts wandered back to the rooftop. He remembered the calm pool, the starlight above, and the unexpected company of Myra. He wondered if she would be there again. Curiosity pulled him stronger than duty, and so he found himself climbing the quiet steps up to the rooftop once more. When he pushed the door open, the familiar soft glow of the water greeted him. And there, just as he hoped, stood Myra by the edge of the pool. She turned when she heard him. For a moment her face was unreadable, then a faint smile appeared. "I thought perhaps you would come," she said gently. Aaron laughed lightly, stepping closer. "And I thought perhaps you would not. It seems we both were wrong." This time, instead of sitting far apart, they moved to the same side of the pool. Aaron slipped his feet into the water, letting the coolness ease away the weight of the day. Myra, after a long pause, slowly did the same. Her kind had always kept distance from such things, but tonight she chose otherwise. The water touched her skin, and she drew in a careful breath. "It feels strange," she admitted, her eyes on the ripples. "I never allowed myself to touch water this way outside a ceremony." Aaron watched her expression, noting the mixture of wonder and hesitation. "Strange can be good," he said softly. "Sometimes it means we are learning something new." Myra let her fingers dip into the pool, moving them slowly through the surface. The water glowed faintly with the lights beneath, wrapping her hands in soft color. She looked at him, her voice quieter. "Your people see this as play, as joy. I begin to understand why. It is calming." Encouraged, Aaron shared more stories. He told her of summer days on Earth when children would run into rivers, laughing as they splashed each other. He spoke of oceans where waves rose high, strong enough to knock someone down, yet people still returned to the shore again and again, drawn to the water's rhythm. Myra listened with bright eyes, leaning forward slightly. "You speak of these things with such light in your voice. For us, water is always serious, guarded, measured. You make it sound alive." Aaron smiled. "That is because, for humans, it is alive. It moves, it changes, it carries stories. The sea has shaped us in more ways than we can count. And now, here on this rooftop, it feels like a piece of home." For a while, neither of them spoke. The rooftop was silent except for the faint hum of the city far below. The stars above were reflected in the pool, making it seem like they were sitting between two skies, one above, one beneath. Myra moved her hand across the water again, watching the ripples spread. Something in her heart stirred. She turned to him. "Do you ever miss it? Your home?" Aaron nodded slowly. "Every day. But when I find small reminders like this pool, or the sound of rain, it makes the distance easier to bear. And sometimes, meeting someone who listens makes it easier too." The words were simple, but Myra felt their weight. She was not used to such honesty. Among her people, words were chosen carefully, always polished and formal. Yet here was a human, speaking openly, with no shield around his heart. It unsettled her, and yet, it drew her closer. Her gaze softened. Perhaps I, too, have missed something. Not Earth, for I have never seen it. But something within myself. A freedom I never allowed. Aaron met her eyes, and for a moment the busy world below seemed very far away. They sat together at the pool's edge, two figures from different worlds, sharing water and silence. As the night deepened, Myra rose slowly. "Tomorrow will be full of duties," she said. "But, perhaps I will return here again." Aaron stood as well, his smile quiet but warm. "Then so will I." They parted with no promise spoken, yet both knew the truth: the rooftop pool was no longer just a place of solitude. It had become a place of connection, where curiosity began to turn into something deeper. And though neither of them said the word aloud, both felt it. Temptation was growing, soft but undeniable, in the gentle glow of the shared waters. The next few nights passed in a quiet rhythm. The council meetings were heavy with discussions, and both Aaron and Myra carried the weight of duty through the long hours. But when the sessions ended, their steps almost naturally found the way to the rooftop pool. At first, neither of them spoke of it. They simply appeared, as if guided by the same invisible thought. But slowly, it became something both of them expected, something both of them needed. On one such evening, Aaron arrived to find Myra already there. She was standing near the edge, her long robe set aside, her feet dipped into the glowing water. She looked up when she saw him and gave a faint smile. "You are late," she said softly. Aaron laughed. "The council kept me longer. They wanted me to explain, again, why humans celebrate birthdays. I don't think they fully understand." Myra tilted her head, curious. "Explain it to me, then." So Aaron sat beside her, the cool water brushing his ankles, and spoke of birthdays the way humans marked the passage of time with candles, songs, and gatherings. He explained that it was not about age alone, but about joy and gratitude for life. Myra listened closely, her bright eyes fixed on him. "To celebrate simply being alive," she murmured. "That is unusual. My people only mark the day of one's joining to duty, the day responsibility begins. But you celebrate existence itself." Aaron nodded. "Maybe that's what makes us human. We don't only survive, we try to find joy in survival." The words lingered in the air, and Myra felt something shift inside her. She had always believed duty was the center of life. Yet here was someone showing her another way of seeing, one that felt lighter, freer. Night after night, their conversations deepened. They spoke not only of cultures and traditions but of dreams. Aaron told her of his wish to see the stars up close one day, not from the ground or even from a ship, but to stand on another world's shore and watch a sky completely unlike Earth's. Myra confessed she sometimes dreamed of leaving her duties behind, even for a short while, to walk unknown paths where no one knew her name. Aaron looked at her with quiet understanding. "Maybe freedom doesn't mean running away," he said gently. "Maybe it means finding someone you can share your heart with, even when the world expects you to be strong." Myra turned her face away, but not quickly enough to hide the warmth that touched her cheeks. She had never allowed such thoughts before. Yet with Aaron, her walls were thinner, her heart less guarded. One evening, the two sat with their feet in the pool, the city lights glowing below like rivers of fire. Myra reached out and trailed her fingers through the water. Without thinking, Aaron did the same, and their hands brushed lightly beneath the surface. The touch was small, but it felt larger than any word. Both of them grew still, aware of how close they were. Myra drew in a slow breath. Among my people, touching hands in water is a sign of deep trust. I should not, her voice faded, uncertain. Aaron looked at her carefully. Then let it mean trust. Nothing more, nothing less. For a long moment, they kept their hands in the water, side by side, letting the ripples join them. No council member was there to watch, no duty hung between them, only the quiet rooftop, the glowing pool, and two souls discovering something new. When they finally pulled their hands away, the silence was comfortable, not heavy. Myra felt her heart beat faster, not out of fear, but out of something she could not yet name. As the nights continued, their bond grew stronger. They laughed at small things, at the way Aaron mispronounced alien words, at the way Myra tried to imitate Earth customs and failed gracefully. They argued gently too, disagreeing on what mattered more, duty or desire, tradition or freedom. Yet even their disagreements only pulled them closer, for in every word there was respect. The rooftop pool was no longer only a place of rest. It was becoming a place where trust was built, where secrets were shared, where the first fragile threads of affection began to weave. And though neither of them dared to call it love, both could feel the bond growing, as steady and quiet as the water rippling beneath the stars. The night began like many others. Aaron climbed the stairs to the rooftop, his thoughts heavy from the long day of meetings. He had spoken for hours, explaining human ways of thinking to council members who sometimes seemed more puzzled than convinced. Still, he carried himself with patience, because he knew every small understanding brought their worlds closer. When he reached the rooftop door and stepped outside, he found Myra already waiting. She stood at the far edge of the glowing pool, her gaze lifted to the stars. The light shimmered softly across her skin, making her appear almost a part of the night sky itself. "You came," she said quietly as he approached. Aaron smiled. "I think I couldn't stay away anymore." They sat together at the edge of the pool, as they often did. The silence between them felt natural now, no longer something that needed to be filled. Myra moved her hand through the water, creating soft ripples. Aaron watched her, noticing the way her expression was calmer than in the council chamber, softer than when she stood before her people. But tonight, the air was different. The wind was stronger, carrying a strange energy. Dark clouds moved quickly above, covering the stars one by one. Myra noticed first. She looked up, her voice filled with unease. "A storm is coming." Aaron followed her gaze. "Yes. On Earth, we often swim when rain comes. It can be freeing." Myra turned sharply, surprised. "Stay in water during a storm? That is unthinkable for us. Water and storm together are dangerous. It is a time of fear." The first drops began to fall, cool against their skin. The surface of the pool shivered under the falling rain, each drop catching the light. Aaron's face softened with memory. "When I was a boy, I used to run outside whenever it rained. I would lift my arms and let the water wash over me. It felt like the sky was giving us a gift." Myra hesitated. She looked at the falling rain, then back at Aaron. Part of her wanted to leave, to escape the breaking of tradition. But another part of her, the part that had grown in the nights beside this human, wanted to stay. Aaron noticed her conflict. Gently, he extended his hand toward her, palm open, not forcing, only offering. "Trust me," he said softly. "Stay. Just for a moment. See it the way we do." Her heart pounded. For her people, rain was always seen as warning, a sign to retreat. To stay here was to step beyond everything she had been taught. But Aaron's eyes were steady, carrying no fear, only hope. Slowly, carefully, she placed her hand into his. The storm grew stronger. Rain fell harder, soaking their clothes, turning the rooftop into a world of silver drops and rushing sound. Myra gasped softly as the water touched her face. It was cold, wild, alive. She closed her eyes, letting the rain fall against her skin, and for the first time in her life she did not run from it. Aaron squeezed her hand lightly. See? It doesn't have to be fear. It can be beauty. She opened her eyes, and what she saw amazed her. The pool glowed brighter under the storm, ripples dancing wildly. The city lights blurred in the rain, turning into rivers of color. The sound of falling water was like music, loud, endless, and full of energy. And beside her was Aaron, smiling with joy, his hair wet, his face lifted toward the sky as if he belonged to the storm. Myra laughed suddenly, the sound surprising even herself. It was light and free, something she had not felt in years. She turned to him and said, "Perhaps your way of seeing the world is not so strange after all." Aaron looked at her, his smile softer now. "Or perhaps it is strange. But sometimes strangeness is exactly what we need." They stayed in the rain until the storm began to calm. By then, Myra no longer felt the weight of tradition pressing so heavily on her. She felt lighter, as though the storm had washed away a part of her fear. When at last they rose to leave, she did not let go of his hand right away. The touch had become something more than comfort, it was a bond, a promise of trust. That night, as they parted, Myra knew the rooftop pool was no longer just a secret meeting place. It had become the ground where she had taken her first true step into freedom, guided by the hand of a human who saw beauty where she had only seen danger. And in her heart, she felt a quiet truth: this bond was no longer just friendship. Something deeper was beginning to grow. The storm had passed, but its memory stayed with Myra. 4 days afterward, she found herself thinking about the rooftop pool, the falling rain, and Aaron's hand holding hers. She had never felt so alive, so free from the heavy chains of duty. Yet freedom also brought danger, for whispers were already beginning to spread. The council chamber was quieter than usual that morning, but Myra could feel the stares. 2 members spoke in hushed tones, their eyes shifting toward her. Another elder cleared his throat with sharp disapproval. Myra sat tall and graceful, hiding her unease, but she understood what the silence meant. News of her late meetings with the human advisor had reached them. At the end of the session, one of the senior counselors approached her. His voice was calm, but his words struck like stones. "Myra, your presence with the human is being noticed. We value alliances, but closeness, it may weaken your image. Remember who you represent." She bowed her head respectfully. "I have not forgotten." But inside, her heart ached. They saw her time with Aaron as weakness, as danger, while she had felt it as strength. Could they not see the difference? That evening, when Aaron arrived at the rooftop pool, he found it empty. He waited, sitting on the edge with his feet in the glowing water, watching the city lights stretch far into the distance. But Myra did not come. The next night was the same. And the next. Aaron tried to tell himself that she was busy, that duties kept her away. Yet deep down he knew something had changed. The silence where her laughter once was pressed heavily on him. On the 4th night, Myra finally came. But her steps were slower, her face clouded. She sat down beside him without a word. For a long time, The only sound was the soft hum of the city below. At last, Aaron spoke. I thought you had forgotten this place. Myra shook her head. I could never forget. But I am being watched, Aaron. The council sees my time here as a risk. They say I cannot allow myself to be close to you. Her voice broke slightly on the last words, and she quickly looked away. Aaron's heart tightened. He wanted to tell her to ignore them, to choose her own path. But he knew the weight of duty on her shoulders. She was not free as he was. Her choices touched not only her but her entire people. I understand, he said quietly. You carry a burden I cannot take from you. His calm words cut her deeper than anger would have. She turned toward him, her eyes filled with conflict. Why do you not fight me on this? Why do you not demand I stay? Aaron looked at her gently. Because love or whatever this is cannot be forced. It has to be chosen. And if you choose duty, I will respect it, even if it breaks me. Myra felt her throat tighten. No one had ever spoken to her in such a way. Among her people, choice was often an illusion, hidden beneath rules and tradition. Yet here was Aaron, giving her the freedom to choose, even if it meant losing him. That freedom frightened her more than the council's warnings. She rose suddenly, her hands trembling. I do not know what to do, she whispered. I fear I will hurt either my people, or you. Aaron stood too, but he did not reach for her. His voice was steady, though his heart felt heavy. Then do what you must, Myra. I will be here, if you ever return. The words hung in the air between them. Myra gave him one last look, her eyes filled with unspoken feelings, and then she walked away into the night. Aaron remained by the pool, the city lights blurring through his tired eyes. The rooftop, once alive with laughter and trust, now felt colder, lonelier. Yet even in his sorrow, he knew one thing clearly, the bond they had built was real. And no warning from a council could erase what had grown between them. The night was still, almost impossibly calm. The city below hummed faintly, its lights like tiny rivers stretching into the distance. The rooftop pool glowed softly, the water reflecting the stars above. Aaron had come here as usual, hoping against hope that Myra might appear. For days, he had thought about her absence, about the council's warnings, and about the weight she carried on her shoulders. He had kept his own heart steady, yet he could not ignore the emptiness he felt without her presence. Then he saw her, a silhouette emerging from the stairway, moving quickly and quietly. Myra. Her steps were cautious, her gaze flicking around to ensure no one saw her. She paused at the pool's edge, taking a deep breath before stepping closer to him. You came, Aaron said softly, his heart beating faster. I could not stay away, Myra admitted, her voice low. I tried. I told myself I must obey, that I must follow my duties. But I cannot deny what I feel. Aaron stood, waiting for her to continue. He did not move too close, giving her the space to speak freely. Myra knelt by the edge of the pool, letting her hands brush the glowing water. You show me a world I never allowed myself to see. You make me feel alive. And yet, the council, my people, they will not understand. Her voice faltered, but her eyes met his with honesty. I feel something for you, Aaron. Something I cannot explain, yet I cannot hide. Aaron's chest tightened with a mixture of relief and joy. Myra, he said gently, what we feel does not need to be explained to anyone but us. The rest of the world can wait. She looked down at her hands, then back up. But if they find out, I will face it with you, Aaron replied firmly. No matter what challenges come, we face them together. Myra's eyes softened. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to smile, and it was small but radiant. She moved closer, kneeling beside him now at the water's edge. The glow of the pool painted her features, showing a mix of courage and vulnerability. You are human, she said quietly, almost to herself. And yet, you make me feel braver than I have ever felt. Aaron reached out, gently taking her hand in his. The warmth of their touch seemed to connect them in a way that words could not. And you, Myra, make me see the world in a new light. Your courage, your grace, it teaches me to be better, to be patient, to understand more than I ever thought I could. She squeezed his hand, her heart beating faster. I was afraid to come here tonight. Afraid of what I would feel, afraid of my own heart. But now, I am not afraid. Aaron smiled softly. Then we are both ready. Ready to face whatever comes, as long as we are together. They sat by the pool, their hands intertwined, sharing the quiet comfort of being understood. For Myra, the rooftop was no longer a place of escape from duty, it had become a place of choice, of freedom, of trust. The stars above reflected in the water, and the city's lights seemed to shine with quiet approval. The moment was small, yet monumental. In their hearts, both knew that what they shared was real, and that neither distance nor rules could erase it. Myra leaned slightly closer, her forehead brushing against Aaron's. I have taken a leap of faith, she whispered. I hope you will take it with me. Aaron rested his forehead against hers, feeling the warmth of her presence. I am already there, he said. I never left. For the first time, the rooftop pool was not just a place of solitude or curiosity. It was the heart of something new, something neither of them had expected but both had wanted. A connection that crossed worlds, defied rules, and promised a future built on trust, understanding, and something far stronger than either had ever felt before. And in that quiet glow, with hands joined and hearts aligned, they realized that sometimes, taking a risk was the only way to discover the truth of what one truly feels. The nights that followed felt different for Myra. She returned to the council, carrying the quiet strength she had discovered on the rooftop. Her steps were confident, her posture unyielding, yet her thoughts often drifted back to Aaron, to the glow of the pool, and the sound of their laughter echoing over the city. For Aaron, every day without seeing her felt incomplete. He continued his work, advising the council, translating human customs, and observing the alien world with curiosity and care. Yet no meeting, no discussion, no ceremony could compare to the simple joy of sitting beside her at the pool, hand in hand, sharing stories and quiet moments. Finally, one evening, Myra returned to the rooftop. The city was calm, the sky painted in soft shades of twilight, and the pool glimmered like a mirror of the stars above. She found Aaron waiting, his reflection mingling with the pool's glow. He smiled when he saw her. You came, he said softly. I always will, Myra replied, her voice steady, though her heart raced. I have chosen my path. Not to defy my duties, but to live my truth. And you are part of it? Aaron stood, moving closer, and together they sat at the edge of the pool. Their feet dipped into the water, sending small ripples across the surface. For a moment, neither spoke. The quiet was full of meaning, heavy with the weight of everything they had faced, yet light with the hope of what lay ahead. Myra let her hand brush against his, and he held it firmly, warmly. Do you think the council will understand? she asked. Aaron shrugged, smiling gently. They may not understand fully, at least not at first. But I know they will respect your choice. They will see your courage and your honesty, and they will realize that humans and your people can find balance, even across worlds. Myra nodded, letting a small smile appear. For the first time, she felt that freedom and duty could coexist. She had faced her fears, taken the leap, and discovered that her heart had its own voice. And in Aaron, she had found someone who did not judge, who did not demand, but who offered trust, understanding, and partnership. The rooftop pool seemed to glow brighter that night. The water reflected the stars above, creating a perfect mirror of the universe. Myra leaned slightly closer to Aaron, their shoulders touching. "You have changed me," she whispered. Aaron looked at her, eyes soft. "And you have changed me. You have shown me a strength I could not have imagined. You have reminded me that even when the world is complicated, small moments can be the most powerful." They watched the city below together. Lights twinkled like distant stars, and for a moment, it felt as though the city, the rooftop, and the pool were theirs alone. "Do you think humans can really be special?" Myra asked quietly, a hint of a smile on her lips. Aaron grinned. "I think humans have something special inside them. We feel deeply, we hope endlessly, and we find joy even in simple things. But I think the truth is, humans are most special when they touch others' hearts. And tonight, I feel that we have done exactly that for each other." Myra squeezed his hand, her heart full. "Then we will face everything together. Duty, counsels, and challenges. I am ready." Aaron nodded, feeling the weight of the promise they made silently. The rooftop pool had become more than a place for meetings or escape. It was now a place of trust, love, and courage. It was a place where two beings from different worlds had discovered something rare and beautiful. The night stretched around them, soft and calm. Stars shone above, mirrored in the glowing water beneath. Aaron and Myra stayed there, side by side, hand in hand, sharing the quiet joy of connection. They knew challenges would come, but they also knew that together, they could face anything. For the first time, the rooftop pool was not only a place of temptation, trust, or discovery. It was a promise. A promise that hearts could meet across worlds, that love could flourish even under the weight of duty, and that humans indeed, any being could inspire courage, hope, and joy in one another. And in that soft glow, with stars above and waters below, Aaron and Myra understood the simple truth: together, they were stronger, braver, and more alive than they had ever been.